You're listening to LeadAI.dev, your daily updates on AI development. Today's topic is AI industry's token maxing problem, when innovation becomes speculation. Here's a quick overview. The AI industry's obsession with token maxing is creating a widening gap between insiders and practical developers, threatening real innovation with speculation. Now, let's ask our analyst about these developments. What's new? The token maxing phenomenon dividing AI industry?
The AI industry has developed a concerning obsession with token maxing, the practice of maximizing token efficiency and computational resources at the expense of practical utility. This trend has created a significant divide between AI insiders who speak in increasingly specialized jargon and the broader developer community that needs functional tools. The phenomenon encompasses everything from OpenAI's aggressive acquisition strategy targeting finance apps and media properties to traditional companies like shoe manufacturers rebranding themselves as AI infrastructure plays to capitalize on market speculation. Recent developments highlight how token maxing has become the industry's primary focus metric, often overshadowing actual user value. And through Pick's announcement of a model deemed too powerful for public release while simultaneously being available to select partners exemplifies this insider-outsider dynamic. The company's decision to restrict access based on perceived risk creates artificial scarcity that drives speculation rather than innovation. This approach mirrors the broader industry trend where computational benchmarks and token efficiency metrics have become more important than solving real world problems for developers. The token maxing mindset has fundamentally altered how AI companies measure success, shifting from user adoption and practical applications to abstract performance metrics. This change represents a departure from the early days of AI development when tools were evaluated based on their ability to solve specific developer challenges. The current environment prioritizes theoretical capabilities and computational efficiency over accessibility and practical implementation, creating barriers for developers who need straightforward solutions rather than cutting edge research projects. OpenAI's acquisition spree includes finance applications and media properties. Expanding beyond core AI development, traditional companies are rebranding as AI infrastructure plays to capitalize on market speculation and investor interest in ThroughPick's selective model release creates artificial scarcity while claiming public safety concerns. Industry vocabulary has become increasingly specialized. Alienating developers outside the inner circle token efficiency metrics now drive product decisions more than user experience or practical utility.
Thank you for that analysis. Let's move on. Who benefits from understanding AI industry token maxing trends?
Enterprise development teams and technical decision makers represent the primary audience that needs to understand token maxing trends to make informed tool selection decisions. These professionals face increasing pressure to adopt AI solutions while navigating a market filled with speculation driven products that prioritize metrics over functionality. Teams working on production applications need to distinguish between genuinely useful AI tools and those designed primarily to attract investment or demonstrate theoretical capabilities. Understanding token maxing helps these teams evaluate vendors based on practical value rather than marketing claims about computational efficiency. Startup founders and individual developers building AI powered applications also benefit significantly from recognizing token maxing patterns. These developers often lack the resources to experiment with multiple expensive solutions and need tools that provide immediate value rather than theoretical advantages. By understanding how token maxing influences product development priorities, smaller teams can identify vendors that focus on developer experience and practical implementation over abstract performance benchmarks. This knowledge helps them avoid tools that require extensive customization or specialized expertise to achieve basic functionality. Investors and business stakeholders should approach token maxing focused companies with caution, as this trend often indicates a disconnect between technical capabilities and market demand. Companies that prioritize token efficiency over user adoption may struggle to achieve sustainable growth beyond the current speculation bubble. Organizations evaluating AI investments should look for vendors that balance computational performance with practical utility and demonstrate clear paths to user value rather than just impressive benchmark scores. Enterprise teams needing production ready AI solutions with clear ROI and implementation paths, startup founders requiring cost effective tools that provide immediate value without extensive setup, technical decision makers evaluating AI vendors based on practical utility rather than theoretical performance, individual developers seeking accessible AI tools without specialized expertise requirements, business stakeholders assessing AI investments beyond speculation and market hype.
Great insight. Really helpful context. How to navigate the token maxing market? Evaluation framework?
Establishing a practical evaluation framework begins with defining clear success metrics that prioritize user value over computational efficiency. Start by identifying specific problems your team needs to solve and create measurable criteria for success that focus on implementation time, user adoption, and business outcomes rather than token efficiency or benchmark performance. Document these requirements before engaging with vendors to avoid being swayed by impressive but irrelevant technical demonstrations. This preparation helps teams maintain focus on practical utility when evaluating token maxing focused products. Conduct thorough vendor assessments using a structured approach that separates marketing claims from actual capabilities. Request specific examples of how the tool solves problems similar to yours, including implementation timelines, resource requirements, and ongoing maintenance needs. Ask vendors to demonstrate their solutions using your actual data or use cases rather than prepared demos that showcase optimal conditions. Pay particular attention to documentation quality, community support, and integration complexity, as token maxing focused companies often neglect these practical considerations in favor of technical performance metrics. Implement pilot programs that test real world performance under your specific conditions before making significant commitments. Set up controlled comparisons between token maxing focused solutions and more practical alternatives, measuring factors like development time, accuracy for your use cases, and total cost of ownership. Monitor not just technical performance, but also developer satisfaction, learning curve requirements, and long term maintenance burden. This approach helps identify tools that provide genuine value rather than just impressive specifications that may not translate to practical benefits. Define success metrics focused on business outcomes rather than computational benchmarks before vendor evaluation. Request vendor demonstrations using your actual data and use cases instead of prepared showcase examples. Evaluate documentation quality, community support, and integration complexity alongside technical performance. Implement controlled pilot programs comparing token maxing solutions against practical alternatives. Monitor developer satisfaction and learning curve requirements during evaluation periods. Calculate total cost of ownership, including implementation time and ongoing maintenance requirements.
That's a very interesting point. Tell us about competitive context, how token maxing changes AI tool selection.
The token maxing trend has created a clear divide between vendors that prioritize computational efficiency and those focused on developer experience and practical implementation. Companies like OpenAI and Anthropic represent the token maxing approach, emphasizing benchmark performance and theoretical capabilities while often requiring significant technical expertise for effective implementation. In contrast, vendors like Hugging Face and smaller specialized companies focus on accessibility, comprehensive documentation, and straightforward integration processes. This divide means developers must choose between cutting edge performance that requires substantial investment in expertise and resources versus practical solutions that provide immediate value with lower barriers to entry. The competitive advantages created by token maxing primarily benefit large organizations with dedicated AI teams and substantial computational budgets. These companies can leverage the superior performance offered by token maxing focused solutions and have the resources to handle complex implementation requirements. However, this approach creates significant disadvantages for smaller teams and individual developers who need accessible tools with clear documentation and straightforward setup processes. The token maxing trend has effectively created a two-tier market where advanced capabilities are increasingly restricted to well-funded organizations with specialized expertise. Despite impressive performance metrics, token maxing focused solutions often have significant limitations in terms of accessibility, cost predictability, and implementation complexity. Many of these tools require extensive fine tuning, specialized hardware, or complex integration processes that make them impractical for teams without dedicated AI expertise. Additionally, the focus on computational efficiency often comes at the expense of user friendly interfaces, comprehensive documentation, and reliable customer support. These limitations mean that token maxing solutions may not be suitable for organizations that need reliable, predictable tools for production applications. Token maxing vendors prioritize benchmark performance over developer experience and implementation simplicity. Traditional vendors focus on accessibility, documentation quality, and straightforward integration processes. Large organizations benefit from token maxing performance, but require substantial technical expertise and resources. Smaller teams face significant barriers when attempting to implement token maxing focused solutions effectively.
Good analysis. Let's continue. What's next? Future implications of AI industry token maxing?
The token maxing trend is likely to intensify in the short term as AI companies compete for investor attention and market positioning. but this focus may ultimately prove unsustainable as the market matures and demands practical solutions. Companies that continue prioritizing computational efficiency over user value risk losing market share to vendors that address real developer needs with accessible, well documented tools. The industry is approaching a potential correction where speculation driven development gives way to utility focused innovation, similar to previous technology bubbles where practical applications eventually dominated over theoretical capabilities. Integration ecosystem development will increasingly favor vendors that balance performance with accessibility, as developers seek tools that work seamlessly with existing workflows rather than requiring specialized expertise or infrastructure. The companies most likely to succeed long term are those that can deliver competitive performance while maintaining focus on developer experience, documentation quality, and integration simplicity. This shift will likely result in consolidation within the token maxing segment as companies struggle to justify their complexity premium in a market that increasingly values practical utility. The forward looking assessment suggests that token maxing will become a specialized niche rather than the industry standard, with most developers gravitating towards solutions that provide optimal balance between performance and usability. Organizations that recognize this trend early and focus on building practical, accessible AI tools while maintaining competitive performance will be best positioned for long term success. The key differentiator will be the ability to translate advanced AI capabilities into tools that solve real problems without requiring users to become AI experts themselves. Short-term intensification of token maxing competition followed by market correction toward practical utility integration ecosystem favoring vendors that balance performance with accessibility and developer experience industry consolidation as token maxing companies struggle to justify complexity premiums in maturing market long-term success dependent on translating advanced capabilities into accessible problem-solving tools.
Great analysis. So, what are the key takeaways from all of this?
Evaluate AI tools based on practical utility and implementation requirements rather than computational efficiency metrics alone. Establish clear success criteria focused on business outcomes before engaging with token maxing focused vendors. Implement pilot programs that test real world performance under your specific conditions before making significant commitments. Consider total cost of ownership, including implementation time, expertise requirements, and ongoing maintenance burden.
And what market signals should our listeners watch for?
Speculation bubble formation. The AI industry's focus on token maxing indicates a classic speculation bubble where theoretical performance metrics drive valuations more than practical utility. This pattern mirrors previous technology bubbles where impressive technical demonstrations attracted investment despite limited real world applications. Companies rebranding as AI infrastructure plays without fundamental business model changes suggests market overheating. The disconnect between insider vocabulary and practical developer needs indicates the bubble may be approaching unsustainable levels, potentially leading to market correction, market segmentation acceleration. The token maxing trend is accelerating market segmentation between enterprise focused high performance solutions and developer friendly practical tools. This divide creates opportunities for vendors that can bridge the gap by offering competitive performance with accessible implementation. The segmentation also suggests that successful companies will need to choose their target market clearly rather than attempting to serve both segments. Organizations that recognize this trend can position themselves advantageously by focusing on underserved developer needs. Competitive differentiation shift. Traditional competitive advantages based solely on performance metrics are becoming less sustainable as the market matures and practical implementation becomes more important. Companies that built their strategies around token maxing may find themselves vulnerable to competitors that prioritize developer experience and integration simplicity. This shift suggests that future market leaders will be those that can maintain competitive performance while delivering superior user experience and practical utility. The trend indicates a fundamental change in how AI tools will be evaluated and adopted.
What should developers and operators do with this information?
Audit current AI tool stack within 30 days to identify token maxing focused solutions that may be over-engineered for actual needs. Establish practical evaluation criteria for AI tools that prioritize business outcomes over computational benchmarks before next vendor assessment. Implement pilot programs for 2 to 3 alternative AI solutions that focus on developer experience rather than performance metrics within next quarter. Create internal guidelines for AI tool selection that explicitly address token maxing trends and emphasize practical utility for team decision making.
Thank you for listening to leadai.dev. Stay tuned for our next daily updates in this rapidly emerging market.